I can start, right?
Yep.
A few weeks ago, one of our classmates made the claim that the health of animals is reduced by being in captivity in places such as zoos. I believe her reasoning was that because increased interaction with humans causes a change in animal behavior. This change in animal behavior results in increased stress for animals. Also, sometimes when people visit zoos, they tend to leave trash there. These foreign objects tend to be safety hazards for many of the animals there as they try to eat them. And also, animals live in zoos in poor conditions. I believe the claims that she made were all incorrect, and this is my reason why. A, I believe that animals being in zoos receive the best available health care that is not available in the wild. B, animals on the verge of extinction are able to be saved from extinction and bred back. And C, animals are protected in a safe haven away from poachers and hunters. A, animals receive the best health care that is not available in the wild. According to the Smithsonian National Zoological Park, they quote that by keeping animals within a safe haven such as zoos and national preserves, that they are able to prevent the spread of diseases that could potentially be left uncontrolled in the wild. These places take preventive measures such as vaccinations, exams for parasites, and deworming. Animals are thus able to live healthier lives and are not able to spread the disease because the disease is already contained before it spreads. Animals are thus able to live longer also. My claim number 2, animals on the verge of extinction are able to be bred back. A good example of animals that were rebred back is the red wolves of Montana. In 2006, according to the Pittsburgh Live report, there were only 14 of these animals alive in the wild. However, due to extensive efforts by the National Zoo, they were able to be rebred back into over 200. Other examples, such as the North American buffalo, which used to roam wild by the millions across America, were reduced to only several thousand after extensive amounts of hunting. And also another good example is the panda of China, which are notoriously slow in their mating habits. Pandas were almost on the verge of extinction. However, the government of China was able to breed these animals in the zoo, and thus their population has increased. By preventing animals from going into extinction, we are able to increase genetic diversity. Increased genetic diversity is something that we can all enjoy for a long time to come. And also, a lot of these zoos are involved in the preservation of their animals' natural habitats. Thus, the animals are able to return back to their natural habitat after living in a zoo. Claim number 3, animals are protected in a safe haven away from poachers and hunters. A good example is the black rhino of Namibia, in which they were shot and had their horns cut just for the sake of these horns. According to the Minnesota Public Radio report, the black rhino custodianship program was able to move these animals into places of safe haven. In these places of safe haven, they were able to breed successfully without fear of being shot or killed. With the reduction of animal poaching and hunting, animals are able to thus live longer. In the end, people might ask, why does this matter? The result is actually threefold. We live in a cleaner world because animals are able to get better health care and thus have fewer diseases. We live in a more diverse world because animals no longer are going extinct and we are able to see more animals while going to the zoo. And we live in a safer world because animals are free from the harms of commercial poaching and hunting. Thank you for your time.
All right, Henry, what you've kind of done is you've created a counter-argument with its own structure to respond to the advocate's claims, and I think you've got good supporting points here and some nice information that applies to those supporting points, but what you don't have is enough application of those points to the advocate's points, and we're not getting that kind of contrast on the individual things. So, for instance, when the advocate makes his argument that says it hurts the animal's health, well, you've got this counterclaim that says it helps the animal's health. Well, all right, now, how am I supposed to assess those two things? They seem to be diametrically opposed claims. You might say, for example, that some animals, according to the advocate's evidence, some animals might have a more difficult time than they would have in the wild, but in truth, the vast majority of animals, their lifespans increase in captivity rather than decrease in captivity. And then you could present some of your argument there. Although you made the claim like that, I didn't hear any evidence supporting it, but you did have a claim sort of like that. And then you can argue in particular for a specific species, this is the only way they're actually going to survive. So what is the advocate actually talking about? Are they talking about just some animals, like elephants have a hard time in captivity because they don't have enough room? Well, I feel bad for the elephants, but the truth of the matter is that zoos create environments that enhance it for pandas and buffalo and red foxes and all these. Red fox, was it red fox?
Red wolves.
Red wolves, because Red Fox, he's the comedian that was on Sanford and Son. Sorry about that. Yeah, red wolves, that kind of thing. Then I think you can contrast your argument and say, I don't know, she provides one example where it might have hurt the animals in general, and I've given you several examples where it benefited them. You never really do talk about the advocate's examples at all. There's not really any refutation of the evidence that they provide or their reasoning. You've just got the counterclaims. They're good counterclaims, but they need to be applied more directly, and instead of creating your own structure, I think you could apply those arguments to the ones that the advocate presented. And then I also think you need to respond to some of the issues that they presented directly too. Especially when you're going to do a contrast, you want to say, look, I've given you these kinds of examples. I've given you expert testimony from zoological experts, from National Wildlife Service, and the only evidence that the advocate has provided is an example from a single zoo. So if we were going to contrast which set of evidence to believe, mine's more reasonable in that context. All right, thank you.